What's up, dirty birds? My name is Trace Pastakis, but you can call me Moose, and I'm filling in today on Falcons Today. I want to apologize. I know you guys don't really like talking about Kirk Cousins, but ESPN did come out and start talking about Kirk Cousins and Kyle Pitts trade package rumors. So naturally, we have to at least somewhat discuss it and mention it. By the way, you could also blame Reed if you want. He was the one that kind of helped me out with this script today. Either way, let's get right into it. So apparently the Steelers called, and according to Ian Rapoport, they were like, hey, what's it going to take to get Kyle Pitts? The Falcons obviously not wanting to trade Kyle Pitts. Let's be clear with that. We know that they've been out there stating, hey, we do not want to trade Kyle Pitts. We prefer to have him on the team. However, if there is a good enough offer, we'll at least take some phone calls. So we'll start by saying this. Don't want to trade him. I think when you look at the quarterback play that Kyle Pitts has had to endure over his tenure here in Atlanta, it's obvious he has not had good enough quarterback play. So has he really reached his full potential? Now, I will say this, he really hasn't lived up to the hype of the number 4 overall pick. But you could make the argument that there's somewhere in the middle where, hey, he hasn't reached the full potential, quarterback play hasn't been good enough, and maybe he's just not quite as good as we intentionally believe. But I want to see what Michael Penix and Kyle Pitts can do. I know you do too. I mean, obviously, Penix last year should have played way earlier than he did. But when he came in, obviously went through the rookie growing pains, right? Like, I think we can all agree on that. Almost every single rookie quarterback did in 2025. Now, let's talk about Kyle Pitts here for just a second, though, before we get into Kirk Cousins. The last 3 games, it sucks. I'm not going to lie to you. It ain't good. However, I do think that Kyle Pitts has the ability to not only be a productive over the middle of the field player, but can end up becoming a better red zone target for Michael Penix Jr., who, being a young quarterback, still going through the motions of becoming a year 2 starter, will need a safety blanket, which Kyle Pitts can provide. So let's just see how the season plays out with Pitts and then go from there. Right? If he's not putting up the numbers, okay, see ya. Figure out a trade package or becomes a free agent, takes a walk after his rookie contract, right? I think all of that is in the realm of possibilities, but let's just ride it out. It's okay to let things play on the field, literally. So I think you'd agree with me, but maybe not. And if you don't, let me know in the comment section down below. By the way, if you want free Falcons coverage all season long, make sure you hit the subscribe button. It's completely free, doesn't cost you a single thing. Did you know ESPN Plus costs like $120 per year? That's insane. If you don't want to deal with any of that BS, make sure you hit that big red sub button. Like I said, completely free daily coverage. Now, how about some trade ideas for Kirk Cousins? Again, I apologize. I know you're tired of hearing about Kirk, but there's still an opportunity, at least according to ESPN, that Kirk gets moved, and you could end up getting some potential draft capital for him. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know who at this point is vying for Kirk Cousins, especially since Aaron Rodgers signed with the Steelers, which was probably his last hope. But ESPN's trade idea, what is going on with the Browns? They're just trying to get every single quarterback that they can find to throw into that quarterback room because apparently there's a trade idea for you. The Browns would receive Kirk Cousins and a 7th, and the Falcons would get Kenny Pickett, a 2026th, and some cash considerations. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know who's worse at this point, Kirk or Kenny. Kenny sucks. So there's rumors that he might not even beat out Shador or Dylan Gabriel in Cleveland for the quarterback 2 position, considering Joe Flacco is most likely going to be the starting one. I'll say this, it's an interesting thought to consider Kirk Cousins trade opportunities, maybe with Cleveland, but at the same time, I wouldn't want Kenny Pickett, I'll tell you that. There might be, draft capital, fine, but I don't want Pickett in this room at all. Looking at that Browns quarterback depth chart, too, is just, ugh. I mean, if your number 1 right now is Joe Flacco, who's 85 years old in NFL years, good luck, Cleveland. That's all I'll say about that. But I don't want to focus too much on Cleveland. It's not the Browns report by Chat Sports. We're talking about the Falcons, right? So back to Kirk Cousins for a second. Is he better than anybody that they have on that current quarterback depth chart? Maybe. I mean, Flacco, you could argue, he's better than Pickett, that's for sure. So if you were to ask me who I'd rather have as a backup, Kirk or Pickett, I'd take Kirk in a heartbeat. Now, the Browns did trade for Kenny Pickett, which, again, probably not the smartest move considering just about a month or two later, you signed Flacco and then drafted 2 more quarterbacks. And you still have Deshaun Watson under contract there. So it's absolutely insane to think about. All right, back to Kirk Cousins here for a second. What could another potential trade package look like for him? Well, how about sending him back home to Minnesota, where he played with the Vikings for quite some time? Now, this one actually does make a lot of sense, at least to me. You send him back, he'll be behind J.J. McCarthy. He'd be a really solid backup. He'd ride out the glory years of his career with Minnesota and then retire peacefully. And the Falcons would receive a 2026 fifth, a 2027 seventh, and some cash consideration. I'm in on this one. I like this idea. Not because it sends Kirk back to where he's from, but it gets him out of the quarterback room here in Atlanta, and you would get some draft capital back. Now, would Minnesota end up making that pick or make that trade? That's tough to say, considering they're most likely rolling with J.J. McCarthy. But right now, currently, as it stands, the Falcons could use all the help that they could get with their 2026 draft picks, considering they gave up the first round to the Rams to get up and get James Pierce Jr. So adding even more draft capital in 2026, I'm all on board for. You know what else I'm on board for? Some sweet Atlanta Falcons gear that you can get with this link that I've put in the comments and description of today's video. Chatsports.com/Falcons sale. You can get this sweet Falcons camo shirt, which might be a little long for summer, but let's be honest, you're not going to be outside all the time. So if you're, like me and you like to dress a little bit warmer for the occasions when you're indoors and having your AC at like 62 degrees, this would be perfect. Again, chatsports.com/Falcons T. Okay, how about the third idea? Still with the Vikings. Seems like ESPN is trying to signal something to us, doesn't it? Sam Howell and some cash considerations for the Falcons, and then Kirk Cousins says, see ya. Again, I don't hate it. It's not the worst thing in the world, considering Sam Howell is probably a pretty decent backup. I wouldn't say he's a high-end backup, but somewhere right in the middle between good and bad as a backup quarterback. Don't hate it, but again, I don't know how many teams are going to be in the market for trading for Kirk Cousins. This almost feels like Minnesota would be doing it for nostalgia purposes, right? Like, we can all agree that they're probably not going to roll with him as a starter. So I'll take Howell over Jones and Stick, but again, we're not talking about a starting quarterback. We're talking about trade opportunities for someone who's most likely going to be a backup. So it all comes down to Cousins using his no trade clause because he does want to start. And do I think he has enough talent to start? Yeah, a little. But who wants a quarterback coming off of major injuries at his age and going to give them another, multi-year contract? It's not going to happen. So that's all just to say, the end is near for Kirk Cousins, and the writing should be on the wall, and he should be able to see that as well. But let me ask you this for what feels like the 80 millionth time you've probably been asked. Where will Kirk Cousins play in 2025? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'm going to guess he ends up staying in Atlanta as a backup. Outside of that, it'd probably be Minnesota. Outside of those two teams, you're not looking at really anything. So, prediction, Kirk is on the roster week 1. Like I said, I don't think he's going anywhere. Yeah, that's true, unless Michael Penix does get injured. On a different, that's cool. Producer Reed sitting there on the 1s and 2s helping. On a different team, yes, that's true. He could get traded at that point if they're desperate enough. That's a very, very good point. Shout out to Reed. Way to go. That's a nice little tidbit in the earpiece right there. All right, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you already haven't. Share this with a Falcons fan in your life. My name is Moose. Had a lot of fun hosting today's show. And as always, be cool.